back like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war going on. Make me put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like Kima. And give a F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on the brand new Beamer. Tryna earn they stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a Keto. And expose with cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque o no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. He shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Y'all just talk, don't live it. And just took that route that seen it. And I'm so outspoken like Reason. Jimmy Neutron, boy, young jeans. And I'm a self-made man out of Sweden. And it's still off top, I'm tweaking. But I still gotta fight my demons. I ain't no good, I'm evil. I ain't been clean since Eden. It's a war going on outside. Make you put your hands on your head like the Macarena. That's why I gotta watch my demeanor. You know they locking up blacks and Latinos. It's the same old game, ain't nothing really changed but the mileage on the meter of the Beamer. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a Keto. And expose with cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque o no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. He shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. I can do this with my eyes closed. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy.
What is up, Carbonation? It is opening day, baby. Opening day with the MLB GOAT, Mr. Benjamin himself. Ben, how you doing? On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you today?
Oh, I'm at a 15. We got baseball and the Masters going at the same time. I am coming off really profitable March, so I just completely did the classic Sam Sherman move, over-entered the Masters, so now I have to sweat this all weekend.
Perfect. So you killed it in March. I know you said we were talking, I don't know which, I think it was one of our, I don't know if it was on a podcast or in Discord, but you were saying that like if Kansas won, you would win like a bunch of money in your bracket leagues or something that you were in. So I'm guessing on top of all of the success you've had with NBA and everything else, that is also part of your March success, right?
Yeah. And I won a bunch of money off Kansas because I had them on. I always make 4 to 5 brackets, and I had Kansas winning on 3 of them, so that was good. But then I actually was in a $100 bracket pool with just some friends that I know. And I never looked at it because I picked Kentucky to win, but then I went back in and I actually won this bracket pool despite picking Kentucky because every person picked Gonzaga, Arizona, and I had Kansas in the championship. So I somehow won a $100 bracket pool with my champion losing in the first round. I don't know what the true odds of that are, but they have to be pretty low.
Yeah, the only way that makes sense is if like low seeds made it to the champion game, or like low seeds and like unpopular picks made it to the champ game, but it was literally a 1 seed and then an 8 seed, which is probably the most
Yeah.
prolific 8 seed ever because North Carolina just had a sucky run in the regular season. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm not going to go into details. I think Ben is probably the only person at Karma that knows why I bet so heavily on Kansas to win. But we won't go into too much details there because you guys won't believe me if I told you. But yeah, so Kansas winning was also huge for me as well. But we are here for MLB, and we are doing this live for a particular reason because we have lock, depending on what site you're playing on, lock in at a minimum of 2 hours from now with a 2:20 game kicking off. So if you have any questions about anything DFS, MLB-wise, about anything sports betting, about anything props, any question whatsoever, even if it's not about sports, if you just want to ask a question about Ben's personal life, you want him to answer a little Dr. Phil session for you maybe, just pop him in the chat. We'll get to him one at a time. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go through his favorite cash and GPP plays in different salary tiers. If you guys ever tune into the NASCAR stream that I do with Luke every Sunday race day at 1 p.m. Eastern time, similar concept. And we're going to touch on some prop plays and go from there. So with that being said, my first question is, I know there's been some rainouts. We were concerned if there was going to be like only 2 games the entire day happening. With the games that are currently not postponed, from a fantasy view, which is the sexiest game on the slate?
Yeah, so weather-wise, everything worked out. The Nationals Mets game was going to get postponed, but they just moved it from whatever time it was going on at 4 or whatever. They moved it to 7, so that's going to be good. And then I think for the most part, all the other games will be good. As far as the best game, I would say, I mean, Nationals Mets is good for offense, but my favorite game is probably that Braves Reds game, just because I really like the Braves offense, and I like Max Fried a lot as a pitcher. Some of the other games, I'm just not interested in offensively, so there's just not a lot going on there. But I
Well,
like
that's
the
going to be
Braves a lot.
my follow-up question was to be, okay, so what is your least favorite? Like, what is, when you're looking at the potential starting lineups and you're looking at the probable pitchers, what's the game you're like, this is such a trash opening day matchup or game situation? What's like the completely fade everything game?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the worst game is like probably it's tough. I don't know. I would say Guardians Royals, just because you don't really want to play either of the offenses there. The Guardians offense just isn't good. And then the Royals have to go against Bieber. But I think that the Royals are like a really sneaky team this year. I know a lot of people like Detroit in that division for the sneaky team, but I think the Royals are right there. Offensively, I think they have a good offense. So I do think that's kind of interesting. But overall, it's just not a great game.
All right, and of course you pick the game with the team that, you know, Anthony's got the Guardians, and Ben's a Guardians fan.
I'm
a
sure
Guardians fan, so
I'm
let's
sure
just
Anthony will stack the Guardians. Had any guess.
Anthony will be tuning in right now, and he'll be like, "Oh, so full stack Guardians, got it, okay."
Yep.
All right, so when you're looking at cash games, who's the bat that we're focusing on for cash games?
Yeah,
top
so I
tier
think
salary
I think
range.
the top overall bat today is probably Pete Alonso from the Mets. Gets a matchup against Patrick Corbin. Corbin was really bad last year. Not sure if he'll be quite that bad this season, but he's really prone to giving up power. And Alonso has, one of the highest ISOs in the league against lefties over the last 2 seasons. He's going to be one of the highest owned on FanDuel, probably, the highest owned spend up on DraftKings as well.
All right, and before we go to the GPP side, just a few housekeeping things for you guys that are tuning in for the first time and may not know anything about DFS Karma and what we offer. So you see to the side of my face, we have it pulled up on the screen right now. That is the MLB Lineup Optimizer. We have the best lineup optimizer in the business. You can get access to it instantly for today's games and for the rest of the season's games by going to dfskarma.com/pricing. Click on optimizer. There's a few different options depending on which subscription style you want to do. But yeah, you can create up to 150 lineups, and the accuracy of this compared to the other industry ones, like I said, it's up there for a reason. If you want to get access to all of Ben's brain drops, his articles, he has a ton of content right now. A lot of it, actually most of it, is free to view, 100% free to view on dfskarma.com. So you go to dfskarma.com, you can either see the articles right there on the homepage, or if you click MLB, In the top menu, it'll show you all of the content we have out here. You have a top stacks article. We have an MLB Jock Market article, which we'll get into a second. You have, what is all the other things you've already dropped right now on the site?
Yeah, I did stacks, building blocks, which that goes pitchers and just the batters that I'm plugging into my lineup. Jock Market plays, like you said. We have a value plays article that'll be coming out daily as well. And then, I mean, if you get in the Discord, I mean, you can just bother me 24/7 and ask me continuous questions.
Yeah. If you want to be best friends with Ben, hop in the Discord, bother him 24/7. And it's very simple to do that. You can either click on the chat room button on dfskarma.com, or even simpler, type this into your browser, dfskarma.com/chat. And then, of course, that'll get you access to all the free complimentary channels we offer DFS and sports betting wise. If you want to get access to the premium stuff, so you're like, oh, you offer a lot of free content, that's great, but I actually want to get the exact players that Ben and the rest of the MLB GOATs are targeting, well, then you got to sign up for either MLB DFS Premium or MVP. MLB, of course, only focused on MLB stuff, and then, of course, MVP covers every single sport content we offer. But that is also accessible by going to dfskarma.com/MLB or dfskarma.com/pricing, and that is literally the core plays, which is the players that Ben and the other MLB GOATs are targeting. You get MLB Final Thoughts, which is our cheat sheet. It's one of the most popular cheat sheets in the industry. We've been doing it for the last, 7 years now, I feel like. You get access to the premium channels. So you can get free access to the Discord channels just by joining it. But if you want to get access to the where I guess Ben is more attentive to, the premium channels that get more of the GOAT's attention, then go ahead and sign up for MLB DFS Premium. We have a day pass. We have a weekly subscription, a monthly, a season pass. There are a lot of different options, whatever you guys are most comfortable with. Now that the housekeeping is aside, let's go ahead and talk about your favorite GPP play for this slate.
Yeah, and I will mention, I know sometimes people are hesitant to sign up, but we do have affordable packages, and I had a couple pretty big hits last year, one of which 10,000 on DraftKings, and I specifically remember that three of our members tied, maybe 2 or 3 of our members tied in that contest in first place with me, so they also won $10,000.
Yeah, and then I don't know if was it last season or the season before that, but I know Anthony, like, I think it was a 2020 season I was thinking of. I was like, yeah, you said the 10,000 last year. We had a lot of people do 10,000 around their takedowns last year, but Anthony 100,000 won. I think that was actually a 2020 season when he had like 100. He had 3 100,000 wins in like a 5-week span.
Yeah, Anthony's good for a heater every now and then now he's got the baby mojo rolling, so definitely don't want to miss out on that.
So let's talk about your favorite GPP play for this opening day slate.
Yeah, so I think the sites are very different here because I think a lot of ownership on FanDuel. I play DraftKings more heavily, but we do offer FanDuel core, so I do play for our subscribers that play FanDuel. But I think a lot of ownership's going to be pushed on the Milwaukee Brewers. They have over a 5 implied run total, and they're relatively cheap on FanDuel. So I think most people will be playing Brewers on FanDuel. I don't love that spot. I think you could use a couple of them, but I'll probably be underweight on the Brewers on FanDuel. DraftKings, Padres, I think will probably be a big focus. The pitching is pretty cheap, so you'll be able to fit in whatever stack you want. But my favorite tournament play today is Austin Riley. I wrote him up in the Jock Marketplace article. I wrote him up in the Stacks article. But like I said, I think the Braves are going to have a really good night here. Tyler Mahle actually gives up more power to righties than he does lefties. Riley has some of the best numbers on the Braves against righties, and he matches up well with the pitch mix as well. He's one of their best slider hitters, but I think this is a really good spot for Riley and the Braves as a whole.
For I guess we're talking. My brain is going to the GPP strategy here for today. Are there based on, I don't know if we have lineups of everything out right now, but based on what is the perceived starting rosters, starting lineups across all of the games that are not rained out today, is there a kind of like a stars and scrubs approach to GPP? Because there's a lot of cheap options that should be doing decently to meet their value, or is it pretty much you want to balance the lineup because of whatever reason may be?
Yeah, I think opening day as a whole is so much different than the other games just because it's not really that case today, but generally all the good pitchers pitch on one day. So then for the first few couple weeks, they're all pitching on the same day. But I think for tournaments and baseball, you just have to stack as much as possible. So DraftKings, I try to anchor with like a 4-man stack. Um, and then like FanDuel, I think, I mean, we saw this up and down different buy-in levels last year, but I remember like playing FanDuel and I was just trying to get in. You can fit 2 4-man stacks in on FanDuel. And relatively on FanDuel, the pricing is softer than it is on DraftKings, and it's easier to fit 2 4-man stacks in. So I think for tournaments, that's probably a good strategy on FanDuel, and especially early in the season, because baseball's already volatile enough, but you mix in right at the beginning of the season when we don't know what kind of shape these guys are in or anything like that. That just adds to why you should stack. But DraftKings, I try to get a 4 to 5-man in, and then fill in with a mini stack outside of that.
All right, so let's go. Let's think about the cheaps, just based on the same strategy I'm thinking about. Based on the, I don't know what. I guess my first question to you is, if we're going to like a cheap range for cash plays, anybody that's cash playable or anybody that's GPP playable, what is that cheap range? Where do you have that cutoff in your mind, salary wise?
Yeah, DraftKings, I would say probably below like anywhere from like 38 below is like a value play in my opinion. FanDuel's a little bit different just because they price things so loosely. So I would say like for FanDuel value is like 32, 33 and below. But on FanDuel, I think today like the value is just the Brewers. Like people will be plugging in some of those Brewers guys. They're gonna pop in all the optimizers like Willie Adames is 2,900. People will be using him. And then Will Myers is another one. Luke Voigt. Those guys are cheap on both DraftKings and FanDuel, but I think those will be like the go-to value plays today.
And is that on both the cash and GPP side, or just straight up value in general?
Yeah, I mean they'll be high owned. And then baseball's one thing where it's kind of similar to golf in that you don't need to jam in the chalk. Just because it's so random, like these teams can be in great spots and score 2 runs like very easily. So I try to avoid like as much chalk as I can early in the season. Um, but it's not like football. Like football, sometimes you get those cheap running backs or something, and you have to play them because they're going to get work. Same thing in NBA, like a guy's out, and who like NBA is just more easy to project, so you kind of know where the usage is going. But baseball's not the case, so you never have to worry about playing chalk in baseball. Like you might not play it and the chalk goes off because it's in a good spot, but it's just not something you have to keep in your mind as much as other sports.
So they do have DraftKings has a $15 100K to first multi-entry contest. They also have a big $555 entry one. But if somebody's looking to take down $100,000 today, which pitcher based on DraftKings salary and scoring is the most overlooked pitcher you're believing so far is going to be the most overlooked pitcher for the slate?
Yeah, I like Max Fried a lot today from the Braves. I think that so the way that they priced pitcher, you have Shane Bieber, who has probably the best stuff on the slate, the best strikeout stuff on the slate. He's priced at 8,300, which is below Max Fried and Yu Darvish. So everyone's going to be anchoring their team with Shane Bieber. Like he's projected almost 40% owned. He's probably going to be higher than that. So everyone's going to play him, and then I think they're going to pair him with Adam Wainwright at 7,500 because Wainwright plays the Pirates, who are, arguably the worst team in baseball. Now, I don't like to play I'm 100% fine playing Wainwright in cash, but he doesn't have that strikeout upside that you're concerned about fading in tournaments. So I would probably try and spend up for 2 pitchers in tournaments today. Max Fried is the guy. Like I think that he can pitch long here. This Reds lineup is not as good as we've seen in past seasons, and I think he has more upside than Wainwright for much lower ownership, even though he is a little bit more expensive.
All right. So what I want to ask now, I know you have an article already for MLB Jock Market. Now, I explain this every time we do an NASCAR stream. I feel like it's such a unique DFS contest, DFS platform, that if this is, like I said, if this is your first time tuning in, you've never heard of what the heck is Jock Market, I don't know if you have an easier way to explain it, but let me know if you have an easier way than this. But you're simply trying to get bats. So they don't do pitching for Jock Market. It's just bats. You're simply trying to find bats that are going to exceed their projections. So if somebody's projected to finish as the 15th best bat in fantasy point scoring based on their own points format, if they're going to finish the 15th, that's what their projection is, and you're like, no, I feel like they're actually going to finish as the 10th, then you get shares of them at a value of 15, and if they finish at 10, then you make money. So this isn't like versing other people. This isn't a head-to-head thing, or you have to be first to take down anything. As long as your players that you buy bid on shares and buy shares of exceed their fantasy points projections, you win money. Even if the guy at 15 projection, 15th overall fantasy point scoring, even if he finishes at 14, you still win money. So it's a very, very easy way to win money. We have been killing it. Absolutely killing it since the beginning of NFL season when we first partnered with Jock Market. Just download the app. You see the banner that's going on the bottom here, part of the rotational billboard banners we have. But you go to Jock Market, and it's spelled JOCKMKT, so they abbreviate that market part. JOCKMKT.online. Download the app. Promo code Karma, of course, gets you that $100 deposit bonus. You can either just focus on the plays that are in Ben's article, or if you want to do your own research, find where the rankings of their fantasy points projections are different than yours, bid on a player, have them exceed their fantasy points projections, and win. Now, I know that was a little bit longer than I intended it to be, but Ben, is you have anything else to add on to that, or does that pretty much sum up where your brain was at on explaining how easy it is to win money on Jock Market?
Yeah, we've been doing really well. It's basically, it's like a fantasy sports stock market, right? Like you said, you don't have to go head-to-head with other teams. You don't have to worry about coming in first. You just have to concern yourself with profiting off of the players that you buy. And I think that you can apply similar strategies that you use on FanDuel and DraftKings to Jock Market as well. Like you want to stack in tournaments, you can stack on Jock Market, buy players from the same teams if you think that they're in a good offensive spot. And like I was talking about, MLB is very similar to golf in that you don't have to weigh projections as heavily. Like you just need to buy players that you think are in a good spot, have potential to hit home runs. Like I would skew more heavily towards the guys that can hit home runs over guys that hit for average, but you don't need to worry about average or about projection like golf. Like whereas NBA is so much different. Like you know what guys are going to project, like you know what their ceilings are, and you can look for the lower players that have higher ceilings relative to where they're priced. Baseball, that goes out the window with how volatile it is. So I would just be stacking, buying players on multiple teams, and looking for like guys that I think can hit home runs.
I just mentioned this in our MLB Jock Market channel in our free Discord, but the strategy that I have won an insane amount of money on NBA this year is using our optimizer, where I take what Jock Market is saying is the NBA projections and the rankings for everybody based on the projections, and I just cross compare it with what our NBA optimizer, lineup optimizer, is saying, and that has worked wonders for me. So I'm trying to take that same approach to MLB, playing on Jock Market MLB for the first time, and there was 3 players that we were targeting, and then I just read Ben's article, which of course is on the site, dfscomer.com. Check out the Jock Market article. It explains more details as well for you guys. But we're both on Nelson Cruz, so whenever my strategy, which is 1,000% different than Ben's strategy, line up, it's a perfect storm. So Nelson Cruz is going to go off today because science, math, and good karma. But yeah, if you have any more questions about that, just hop in the chat and ask away. We're more than happy to help you guys learn how to play on whatever site it may be. Even if it is DraftKings, even if you are new to that, we'll definitely help you out. Let's shift over to the prop side here. I know you dropped some plays for our premium prop subs, which is, of course, another opportunity for you guys to sign up. If you want to get every single prop play from all of our experts for every single sport, all you got to do is go to dfskarma.com/props, sign up for that, and you get literally everything we drop on a daily basis, no matter what the sport is, including MLB. But I don't know if you want to touch on the one you dropped. I'm sure the lines are different right now because Karma Nation moves the lines. But on either any of our prop partner sites, is there anything that stood out as like this is such a no-brainer play? It blows my mind it's even available. Anything kind of pop out like that for you?
Yeah. So last year, I like to bet the total bases props. If I can identify guys that are in good spots. I didn't pick that today, but just in general, I like to bet those. Strikeouts, I think, are you can attack, but I would probably wait on that a few weeks just because we don't know these teams, even though we think we know them. Like I said, baseball is just so much different than other sports, and we also don't know like how much these guys are going to pitch their first few starts. So, like I pointed out on Prize Picks, Shane Bieber's at 6.5 strikeouts. That's a really low number, but we just don't know. So I wasn't confident to put that in my play, but I do think that was a low number. Something I thought was really interesting on Prize Picks was they're offering basically my favorite bet for baseball is to bet no run first innings, and they started offering that on their site. So you can get like the starting pitchers from two teams, and then like over under half a run. So I like to bet no run first innings, and so I think a couple of those are attackable, like the Royals and Guardians one, for example, which is one I put in my play. Just bet under half a run in the first inning.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like not even for just MLB, but everything that Prize Picks has been bringing out. Because it used to be like
They have everything.
oh, you have 5 stats to do over under on for like NBA whatever, and now there's like a million things you can go over under on. Prize Picks is definitely.
They even they do you can bet hole by hole basically on golf, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're definitely supplanting themselves as the number one fantasy prop site, or single player fantasy site, as now the industry is called, the SPF. But yeah, so we touched on props, touched on Jock Mark a little bit, talked about DraftKings and FanDuel a lot at the beginning. If you just tuned in, this thing is entirely replayable. You have plenty of time before lock to rewatch it, fast forward, rewind, go through all that stuff. Is there anything that I have not asked you directly that you feel is necessary to talk about during this opening day live stream?
No, I would say just be careful early on in the season. We don't know these teams. It takes a while to get some data to go off of. So I do think it's even more just volatile early on in the season. If you're playing tournaments, try to stack as much as possible. And I think that like the times have definitely changed as well. If you're going to start out with an X amount for your bankroll and it's not, a ton of money, I would probably focus on, the smaller field tournaments more so than just grinding head-to-heads and cash games. I still will be playing cash games, but I've kind of moved more towards these smaller field tournaments over the last like year and a half as well.
All right. Well, we're going to carry on this conversation inside of the chat. If you want to be part of it, it's very simple. Just open up your browser, type in dfskarma.com/chat. It'll send you right to it, and then you'll be good to go and just chat away with Ben 24 or annoy him 24/7, as he said, in the MLB DFS channel. We hope you guys have screens of green, as we know we will. So go ahead and smash the thumbs up if you haven't yet. Subscribe to this channel if you have not done that yet. Turn notifications on. Who knows? Maybe we'll be doing these a lot more often. But good luck today, guys, and we'll see you in the chat room.